Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where we get to connect with people all over the world to share tips and strategies designed to help you on your journey. So I'm your host, Chantal Cox. I'm an author, speaker, and transformation neurocoach who helps women experiencing life transitions create a new vision for themselves, reconnect with their passion and purpose, and turn their transition into their triumphant transformation. So just a quick reminder I like to throw out there that this is being streamed live. So those of you with us live, please put in the chat, any comments, questions, anything, any way you would like to interact with us, and we will get to them as it makes sense in the flow of our conversation. And if you are catching the replay, just use hashtag replay, and either Jen or myself will see that and answer you. And if you are listening on the podcast, go to one of our links shared in the show notes and reach out to us with any questions you may have. So I am so excited to be here with my good friend, Jen Ingram. Jen is a health and life coach who helps others discover what's stopping them from getting what they really want in life, take action to move forward, and take their life back. Hello, Jen. How are you today?
Good. Great to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And share with everybody where you are joining us from.
I'm joining not too far from you. I'm in Wichita, and it is I don't know about the rest of the world, but today it's been kind of cold and rainy, and fall has arrived.
So true. So anybody who maybe has been following me for a minute, she may look familiar. We've gone on a variety of vacations in 2021 together, and it's been really fun. So stay tuned because you guys are in for a treat. I've been trying to get her on this for ages, and so here we are. I'm so excited. So Jen, share with us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you create a life that you love?
Yeah, no, first I want to say definitely thank you for having me on here. It's so funny because a good portion of my journey and my story actually kind of evolved out of this podcast. So it's super exciting to finally get to be a guest. And it really goes to show the value that you bring to the community, to the Create a Life You Love community, because I was a community member at one point, and so thank you for having me. So so I'm Jen Ingram. I am a health and life coach and kind of that confidence igniter. I help people really figure out what they really want and the actions that they need to take to get there. I do work with a lot of folks, or a lot of women in particular, that are in their weight loss journey. But I like to say, that I help women figure out what they really want, because the truth is that the weight is really kind of a side effect. What you really want is something more. So yes, I that's a little bit about me. My journey really started in the year that I coined 2016. That was 2016, and so I had just really had some really rough patches in life. I was really overweight. I was almost back to my heaviest weight, and I had a couple of restructures at my job and ended up in a role that I didn't even want and had taken a pay cut. I had just a lot of things that I had kind of shoved under the rug, like we always do. Had been putting life on autopilot. I had, things left over from a divorce that I didn't take care of, really bad credit, a foreclosure on my record, just all the yucky things in life that we don't want to deal with that are obstacles. And I finally just decided one day that enough was enough. And I set out a 5-year plan that I achieved in about 2.5, 3 years. And it was through that journey that I really figured out the steps, what it takes to really make a transformation in your life. And so now I get to share that with others so that they can then figure out how they want to transform and create a life that they love.
Awesome. I love that so much. And so you really had like the whole change. Like some people focus on weight or finances and you're like, bring it on, baby. Let's take it all. Let's do it all. Right. So what was maybe some of the initial, like just thinking back to right when you were on the verge of that transition? Do you remember any kind of like what was going on in your head? Like what were your thoughts and emotions?
I do. I remember it very well because I remember I was in a really bad state. I was miserable. I woke up, I felt like crap every day because I would eat and drink all evening until I fell asleep. Sometimes it meant I fell asleep on the couch. There was no good habits in my life. Let's just say that. And so I just remember it very well. I was tired of the struggle at work where I felt like I definitely wasn't being paid what I was worth. My skill set just wasn't being used, and I wasn't doing something that I enjoyed and felt fulfilled with. I was tired of the money struggles. I was tired of the relationship and friendship struggles. I was tired of all the things. And that's why I really say that weight's kind of the side effect, right? It was all these other struggles and some prior traumas that had occurred in my life that then, we seek out things, which is food, to try and cope. And I remember very vividly. So just to kind of speed that up, I just remember very vividly. I was done. I remember sitting at my desk one day. I had just undergone a pretty big restructure at work and was just in a very difficult situation. It was a very, very toxic work environment. And I just remember sitting in my cubicle one day and I sat there and it was like this energy came over me. And I said, I don't care what happens. 1 year from right now, I cannot be sitting in this chair looking like this at this job, in this desk, making this money. This cannot look like this 1 year from now. Like I just sat there and I said this out loud. And I remember the gal that sat in the cubicle behind me, she was like, girl, you okay? Like, you doing all right? And I was like, I'm good. I'm just letting you know 1 year from now, I will not be here. I will not look like this. Nothing will be the same. And I had, we've all got like those work friends or a work spouse. I had somewhat of a work husband, and he was a bodybuilder outside of work. And so, I mean, this guy, he deadlifts 600 pounds for fun, right? And so when he heard me just kind of proclaim this, he stood up and his head peered over the cubicle wall, and he stood up and he looks down at me and he says, if you're still sitting in that chair looking like that 1 year from now, I'm going to kick your ass. And I just remember I was sitting there, I was like, okay, I won't be here. So I like to say that in your gut when it's really it's time to stop the BS, it's time to stop the stories, and it's time to get real and do something with your life. And it. And that was, I remember it so vividly, fall of 2016. That was it.
That's amazing. And so that, like, you were not seeking out that accountability, but your coworker stood up and was like, I'm going to hold you accountable to this. And so how did that impact you throughout your journey?
Oh my gosh, huge. First of all, yeah, and that's one of the things that I'll share in the steps that I talk about this evening is you cannot do this alone. You think you can. The truth is, if you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, right? How many times have you tried or you said you were going to do something and something gets in the way, and it's because you don't have the support and the accountability and what you need. And so I really, once I recognized that, okay, I can't go this alone. In fact, I remember it was a couple days after I made that big proclamation. I had called in sick to work. I was like, I need a mental health day. I need to draw some things out. I remember I was on my home computer doing spreadsheets and all that stuff. And I had messaged that coworker and I was like, hey, there's like an employee assistance program. I need like a life coach. I need a coach. And he's like, I go, can you look it up? Because I didn't have access. I was like, can you look up that number? And I remember being so frustrated because I knew I had this service, but they didn't have what I was looking for. I was like, I don't need therapy. I've been in therapy. They basically kicked me out of therapy and they were like, you're functioning, you're fine, you're dealing with your trauma. But I was like, I know what I need. I need that accountability and that support. And I could not find it through those avenues that I had. And so that was when I started seeking other options. And I knew it was gonna take more than anything I had done before. It was going to need to look different than anything I had tried before. I knew that much.
That's awesome. And yes, if anybody who has access, if your job has access to an employee assistance program and you need therapy, counseling, anything like that, it is a phenomenal resource. I have used it more than once. It is awesome. But at least the last time I was looking at it, you were right. I did not see access to coaching, which is so much different than therapy. So I was so glad that you kind of brought that up because there's so much value in both. It just kind of depends on what's your focus, where are you at in your journey, like what are you wanting to accomplish from this. So that is awesome. I just get goosebumps when I hear how determined you were. Just something inside you snapped and you were like, I am done with this. And so you just decided. Like nobody externally can decide for you and nobody can convince you to do it.
Mm.
It's all from within. And so you, for whatever reason that day, that was your day that you were like done. And then you knew you needed to do things different that you've never done before. And in order to do that, you are going to need to seek help in other ways that you've never done before. And then that brings up all the things that I went through and that everyone else goes through of well, wait a minute, like I can't afford a personal trainer or a meal prep service that's going to deliver healthy food to me or a coach, whatever it is, like we're not worth it. We're not used to investing in ourselves. But do you feel that had you just gone on your own, what would have happened? What would your story be now?
It would look so different. It would look so different. I know I could not have achieved all that. I mean, I was pretty determined. I wanted out of whatever that situation was in my life so bad. So I didn't find through that employee service the coaching that I wanted. So one of the things that I did was I asked my work to provide a work mentor to start because one of the things that I needed to fix was I was tired of being the one that was getting quote unquote restructured, or as I viewed it, demoted. And I didn't understand why. I mean, the qualifications were there. And it was the day that I had this proclamation was the day when I remember because I was sitting there and I was staring at all the windowed offices along the wall. And I was sitting there and I was pointing at all the offices and I was like, not one of these people believe in me and believe that I can provide the service that they're looking for, and they continue to pass me over. And as I was sitting there, I literally was like pointing at each office along the wall. And one of this old quote that I had heard years before occurred to me of, for every finger that you're pointing at someone, there's three more pointing at you. And it was in that moment that it occurred to me that it doesn't matter if they believe in me, because I didn't believe in me. They couldn't believe in me because I didn't believe in me. And so it if I had not sought out all of the coaching, I ended up having about 3 coaches, honestly, and seek out all the support in the community. I also engaged in several communities. um, it would look very, very different. I probably would not have had all the success that I did. I definitely would have had some successes because I was pretty determined. And I am a Taurus. And so I'm pretty stubborn once I put my mind to it. But it would have been a much more difficult road. I would not have achieved all that I was able to successfully achieve without it. And to be honest, there's probably some things that I would have just never gotten around to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you hit on so many key things there, and then this will transition us into your tips that you're going to really lay out. But so you highlighted the coaching, the accountability, the community, like those pieces are huge. And yes, your internal determination, and that you decided, I'm doing this, come hell or high water, let's go, right? And then you found ways to make yourself successful. So now, fast forward to present time, talk to us about how you are going out there, because something that I know is so true is transformed people transform people. And so now you are at a place, you've had this badass transformation, and now you are looking back and being like, how can I help? Who can I help? Let's do this. So talk to us about how you are helping others create a life that they love.
Yeah. So no, that's so key, because one of the things that I remember most is I felt like there's nobody, who, how do you find a life coach? That was so crazy to me. I remember like Googling life coach, Wichita, Kansas, and like nothing came back. And I thought, this is so weird. And so it's it became imperative to me once I started going through the journey and I started figuring out, okay, here's all the components that this is taking for me to truly succeed this time. Because I had made attempts in the past. I had made attempts at weight loss in the past. I had made attempts to really kind of spring my career forward. I had made attempts to fix my finances. It just wasn't all coming together for me. And so I definitely saw a need. And some of that just started with me sharing, bits and pieces of my story. And and I'll get to this, but this is remind me to come back to this, because one of the coaches that I had, my work mentor, one of the SMART goals that I had lined out when he asked me what my 5-year plan was that I wanted to be more visible in social media. Like, I knew deep down within that I was about to do something. It was, when I say it was like an energy took over me, that I knew something was about to occur. That was exactly what it felt like. And I was like, I need to be willing to put myself out there. And I haven't been doing that. And he's like, oh, that's so dangerous. That's so risky. People could find you. And those were his own beliefs that he was portraying on, and so for a little while I did kind of take that to heart, but luckily I didn't stay. And I shared my journey along the way. And I shared pictures and what I was doing and what I was eating and who I was hanging out with. And if I went to a conference or a seminar for self growth, I would share that in social media, and I share it with my friends. I invited my friends to everything, um, and so it really just started with me sharing, and I realized that people started coming up to me asking, okay, well, how do you do it? Like, they want to know, like, what's the secret? What's the secret? We all want to know, how can we do this? And so that was when I really started honing in on, okay, what does this take? What am I doing? Where, you know, this really helped get to, one of my signature programs is get to your why and simplify. Because one of the things that I realized early on that I was doing is I was taking everything that seemed really overwhelming to me and complicated, and I was figuring out ways where I could just make it really simple. And I remember telling the coaches that I was working with, listen, if this isn't super simple, if this is too complex, I'm not going to do it. I already knew if you give me something and it's got 100 steps, I've already tuned out on step 2. So that was when I just really started sharing. And so now I get the luxury of continuing to share the tips and tricks that I've learned. And I did seek out certification in health coaching so that I can really emphasize creating change and long lasting habits, really going towards those habit transformations that are going to make the difference in your life.
That's so awesome. And you shared when we were opening up the episode that you were seeking out ways to grow, things that were different, and you were using your, I don't know if I still did it on Tuesdays back then, that was right when I was starting, but you were giving up your Tuesday evening, as are a few other people on live with us right now, to show up to this live to learn and grow. And that's how I connected you with my friend Jackie Cote, and that just that launched you into the next step. That was your next logical step. And it's because you were not at happy hour on Tuesday at 7. You were investing time in yourself, in your journey, in your growth. So yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked a bit about you've got some specific steps that worked for you and that you walk your clients through. So tell us about some of those.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And, you even hit on a couple of them earlier, when we're talking about making those decisions for yourself, and it's something that really has to come from within, and nobody can make those decisions for you. The first thing that I figured out that really had to occur was that whole self-awareness. When I was saying I was so frustrated at work and I was pointing my finger at all those offices only to recognize that I was really pointing the fingers at myself. And here I was frankly, still blaming my ex for the woes of my credit report, when the fact of the matter is we had been divorced for long enough that I should have been fixing it. There's no one person to blame in that scenario. It's really the very first step that I found out was just that absolute self-awareness. Like, what are the BS stories I've been telling myself? These stories that I'll never lose the weight because it runs in my family. That's such bull. Just all the stories that I used to tell myself, for every step forward, you have to take 2 steps back. And that's not true either. But I had that belief, and I just had all these beliefs and these stories that I would tell myself of what was holding me back, why I wasn't ever succeeding, why every time I felt like I had a small success in life, it quickly then, something would happen. It never failed. Something happened in life, as is life. But instead it would take me all the way back. And so what was the stories that I had associated? And I think this is the first step, is that self-awareness and that acknowledgement. And really asking yourself, what are the stories that I'm making up for myself, and are they true? Excuse me. And this really isn't a time, this isn't about, it's not a pity party. It's not why do I suck? Why can't I do this? Why am I not good at this? It was never questions of why am I not enough. It was really, for me, it was, okay, I just had this epiphany that people, I'm not getting what I want. I'm disappointed that others don't believe in me, but it has nothing to do with them. And it was once I had that epiphany that everything else started coming into play. You know, the story that at one point in time, I just shared over the weekend, I had a group session with a couple of ladies who were looking into weight loss surgery. And I shared my story that back in 2010, I had also thought out weight loss surgery, went through an entire year-long program, made it all the way to my pre-op appointment, was approved for surgery, and frankly, chickened out. Just had this deep gut feeling that this was not for me. This was not going to be my path. And it really was, you know, that story of, oh, but if I don't have the surgery, if I don't have the product, if I don't have the diet pills or whatever else it is, that I can't do it. And it's just not true. Um, so I think, yeah, step one that we've kind of already hit on, just in casual conversation, really is that self-awareness.
Yeah. Would you be willing to share with the audience how much weight you have lost?
Yeah, no, I've lost, at my heaviest, I've lost about 120 pounds. When I started at the beginning of 2017, um, from that point, I've lost about 100 pounds. I had, there were some very positive things that occurred in the journey that I took at one point in time seeking out weight loss surgery, because for that surgery, in order to qualify, I had to work very closely with a dietitian, and I had to learn how to log my food, track my water, track my exercise. And so there were some healthy habits that I did gain. So I knew what they were. And so every time I would see my weight creeping back up to, you know, getting to my high number, and I knew it, I would be like, okay, here's what I got to do. But again, what I would do is I knew what I needed to do, but I would still seek out, well, what's the product that I need? And I would go that route. So I I was already kind of on that path and doing a little bit of that. And so I had lost some weight before I really said enough is enough. So yeah, it's a pretty significant a pretty significant amount. I was pretty determined.
That is amazing. It's been a while, but I mean, at one point I weighed 120 pounds. Like you've lost an adult person, a petite adult person, but an adult person. That's amazing. So congratulations on just learning those habits, sticking with it. And then, I mean, you said this all started back in like, 2016, but I don't know when your exact not diet, your health journey started. But you've maintained it. You didn't lose 120 pounds and then gain 300 pounds. And that whole big thing, like you've really stayed very steady, very healthy.
Yes. Yeah. That goes back to the decision, that once you decide for you, there's just no going back.
Mhm.
There is no going back. I had somebody ask me once, you know, what would you pay? What would you pay to never go back? And I was like, there's no number. I don't make enough money to pay to never go back. Like there's, you know, once you've discovered this feeling of what it's like um to be able to do all the things that you want, there's just there's no going back.
So awesome. So, one of your main foundational first steps is to really become self aware, where you're at, where you want to be, what's holding you back, really catching those automated thoughts. And so, then what else should people be doing?
That's step one, is self-awareness. Step two is to decide. It's a decision. And I think this is sometimes where people get caught up, because I think we're so afraid of making a wrong decision. And the truth is, you know, any decision is a good decision, because once you make a decision and you go all in, then you're able to create a path forward and take action steps towards that decision that you've made. Um, So making a decision is step two, to really decide. And this is where you get to really figure out, okay, I'm making a decision, and you really get to step into that decision. Decide what actually feels good to you. Um, I think really taking your time to say, um, is this something that I want, or am I still trying to live out somebody else's beliefs or desires for me? I think we all fall into that at various points of our life. Maybe we try and follow the path that our parents had outlined for us, or our friends, or a spouse, or any of those things. Um, and so really kind of connecting with what feels good to you, and helping step into that and visualizing that and making that decision. um, One of the really important things, and this goes with regards to weight loss, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking to make changes in your career, when once you make a decision, that's the decision. There is the minute that you say, hey, well, I'm going to make this decision, but I'm planning a plan B and a plan C or whatever. If this doesn't work out, all you're really saying is, I'm planning to fail, and I'm not fully committed to my decision. And that's why I'm needing to make a plan B or a plan C or whatever it is. Once you truly make a decision, you need to become 100% committed. This is the decision that I've made. This is the path that I'm going to go down. And when I think about this, I like to think about there's a quote from Michael Jordan. And he said, once I made a decision, I never even thought about it again. You never even thought about, I need to make this decision again. There's that docu-series that was on Netflix about him. I don't know if it still is, but he didn't show up his last season and say, I think I might want to try and win one more championship. He made a decision before the season even started, and he showed up and he proclaimed, he just flat out said, I'm winning another championship. And he had his mindset. He made a decision, and it didn't matter what they threw at him. And they threw some things at him, messing with his contract and teammates, and a lot of obstacles were thrown his way in that path. But his decision was made. He was not giving up until he walked away with his final championship. He had already made that decision. There was no plan B. There was no, well, I'm going to try and win this championship, but if that doesn't work out, I might go try this other. There was never another thing. This was it. And so I think this is really important. I see this, and especially we're in the coaching world. I think we even try to do this maybe as coaches, as we'll say, well, okay, yeah, so I'm going to have, this program and that program, and then I'm going to try a membership, and pretty soon you're adding in 10 different plans. And this is where you can start to get really complex. And this is where I say my program is about simplification, because you've already made a decision. You ideally should be sticking with that plan A, get really good at it. Pick a couple of things, no more than two, become masterful at it to the point you're ready to scale, and then you can add more in, right? But that plan A. And I think the other thing people don't recognize, it actually takes more energy to be only 98% committed to your decision than it does to be 100% committed. Because if you're only 98% committed, then what you're really doing is you're spending time, so for me, I'm 100% committed to my gym time. I know how many days a week I want to be at the gym. Those are non-negotiable for me. And so I am 100% committed to that time. It takes more energy for me to sit here and go, oh gosh, okay, well, I don't, you know what? I think I got something going on tonight. I don't think I'm going to go tonight. Well, then now that I didn't go, now I feel obligated that if somebody asks me why I wasn't there, well, now I got to explain that. Well, now I've got, so I'm like exerting all this energy to make up an excuse to not be committed to my plan. So it's the importance of that decision really is another pivotal key. That is step two. The first being self awareness, And the second one is just making that decision. Just decide. And that is your decision. There is only a plan A. There's no plan B. This is what you're doing and sticking to it.
Love that. And so what's step 3?
Step 3, this is the one. So once you've decided, right, you know what you've said. Maybe you've said, I'm going to make a career change. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to fix my finances. Is action. And this is a big one. And where people get hung up here is perfectionism. You know, they want to say, well, I'm not quite ready to take that action step because I don't have all these things lined up just perfectly, so I can't do that yet. And you know, we're constantly seeking that perfection. And I read this the other day. It said perfectionism is the enemy of action. And I really like that. I think what it is we use our fear of failing. Like we're so afraid we're going to fail that we try and use perfectionism and we kind of wear, well, it's not perfect. But what we're really saying is, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. And so the key here is to just take action. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to, if you're just starting your weight loss journey and maybe you're learning how to meal prep. I remember the first few times I meal prepped, it took me like hours and hours, unnecessary hours. It was a mess. The kitchen was a disaster. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to show up to a gym and it's going to be scary. You're not going to be able to do all the exercises that they're going to show you. I remember my first night I had joined, I had actually won. This is a great quick story. I'll make this quick. So I already laid out my 5-year plan with my work mentor, and one of which was I wanted to lose weight. And even though he was a work mentor, he was all about that because he agreed that this is going to build your confidence. This is, you know, this is still work related, right? And so anyways, I was on Facebook one night and I saw an advertisement. It was one of those like, you know, comment, share, and you know, and do something else, and you could win 30 days of a boot camp. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. So it comes around to when they're going to announce the winners, and I win 30 days of a free boot camp. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I win and I get there, and I will never forget it because the boot camp facility was next to like a cheerleading facility. So here I am, I'm absolutely terrified. The thought boot camp, all I can envision in my mind is like a drill instructor, like yelling in your face, and it's really difficult. And I'm so nervous even driving there. And so I drive and I get into the parking lot and I'm sitting in the parking lot and I can look at my rear view mirror and I see behind me through the window of the boot camp facility, you know, there's a guy in there and he's wearing like a cut off muscle shirt and he's got like a faux hawk. And I mean, he's just, his arms are like twice the size of me, you know, I mean, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. So here I am, I'm in my car and these kids are like getting out of their parents' cars and they're all the cheerleaders. I'm like, yeah. And here I am, I'm in my car, crocodile tears, absolutely terrified to go into this boot camp facility for the first time. I can't do this. I can't do a boot camp. Oh, right. I'm freaking out. And it's so hilarious when I look back on it now. I ended up going in there because they had told me that since I had won it and I signed up and I said, okay, I will go for my orientation. I'll do my first boot camp on this Monday. They said, if you don't show up, we're going to charge your credit card $1. Okay, a freaking $1. Oh my God, they're gonna charge me $1. And then I'm gonna have to tell them what, you know, I'm gonna have to make up an excuse. Again, I'm exerting energy, right? I'm gonna have to make up an excuse as to why I didn't show, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I just need to go in there. So I go in there and the guy was super freaking nice. So he was like this really big guy, but he's like gentle Ben. Like he was the nicest guy. But I remember I was sitting there, I'm telling you, this does not look perfect. I realized in that very first boot camp, I could not do a jumping jack. We went to go do the warm up and he's like, okay, we're going to do jumping jacks. And I'm like, oh, okay, jumping jack. That's like no big deal. And so I go you know, and I go to do this jumping jack and I'm like, oh, nothing happens. I'm like, okay, for real though, I'm gonna do a jumping jack. Hold on, I got this, right? And so I'm there and I try it again, right? I'm like trying to like get my arms up and my legs, you know, and I'm like, and I stand there and I'm like, my feet didn't leave the ground, did they? And he's like, no, they didn't. I'm like, oh my God. And it occurred to me, you know, we have these visions in our minds of being kids and we're doing cartwheels across the yard or whatever we used to do as kids. We ran around like crazy. So in my mind, I'm like, a jumping jack, it's nothing. I had really just spent so many years as frankly a couch potato, it didn't even occur to me I couldn't do something as simple as a jumping jack. So I'm here to tell you, you're going to have those moments. They're going to be really scary. You're going to have to make modifications along the way, and that's okay. You've still made the decision. Your plan A is still there, right? You're just making some tweaks and some modifications along the way. It's not going to be perfect. The point is, you have to show up. You have to show up. You have to suit up. You have to play the game. Action is step 3. If you're not taking action, you're not creating momentum, which is creating the motivation for you to keep going. So absolutely, whatever it is, it's taking action, whether that's in your business, in your career, whatever it is. And that's setting those SMART goals. That is another action step that you really need to take. And for the audience here, Chantal's book, Create a Life You Love, goes through some of those SMART goals if you're curious about reading more about that. So that was exactly what I did. Is I had set out that 5-year plan and I had some goals that I wanted to achieve. And I'm telling you this work, I just did this again this last year when I knew I was ready for a career change. I had proclaimed in December of 2020 that I was not going to be at another end of year season in the job that I've had for the last 13 years. I proclaimed that last December. I said, I'm not going to do it. I cannot do this again. I cannot wear this badge of hustle as though that working my tail off every holiday season is a good thing. It's not. It's exhausting. It's not healthy. And I proclaimed it. I put a date to it. I visualized it. I journaled about it. And I remember I told my coach and I said, I was actually in an event last December. I was in a goal setting for 2021 event. And I said, I'm not going to be in this job this time next year. It's not happening. And she was like, put a date to it. You know, you got to make that SMART goal, put a date to it. And I said, okay, August 30th. And this is why some of those steps are just as important in your action plan, because I put that date of August 30th. And what happened was, as the year was going through, I had that date in my mind. I had journaled about that date. I journaled about what that would look like and feel like. So the action steps that I took were leading me to that date. Now, I didn't necessarily make that goal on that exact date, but within 2 weeks of August 30th, I submitted my 2-week notice to my old job because I had secured a new job. So action is absolutely key. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty. I'm going to tell you now, I sent out my first few resumes early 2021 were super ugly. Again, I sought out help. I found a career coach. She helped me. It wasn't pretty, but I did it because once I sent out a couple, I was like, you know what? Okay, I am going to need some help in this area too. So step 3 is action for sure. And step 4 is what we've really already been talking about, is that support, accountability, community. Community is huge. You know, I've not only shared with you that I had 3 different coaches when I started my journey. I now only have 1. I will tell you, everybody needs a coach. There's been different coaches that I have sought out during different periods, and that's okay too. But having that support and accountability, but community as well, is absolutely critical. I'm a really big fan for those who are starting their health journey. I'm a really big fan of what I call kind of boutique gyms, if you will. And the reason I encourage those so much instead of maybe that $20 a month big box gym is because typically these smaller boutique gyms, they're going to offer community. They're going to offer you that camaraderie. Yeah, that word. They're gonna offer you that community that you're seeking. They're gonna notice. Here's the difference. If you're not, the gym that I go to, we only have group classes. So when you get used to seeing certain people in the class that you typically attend, then the next time that you go to class, if they're not there, you're gonna notice. So if I suddenly go missing, somebody's gonna go bugging me on Facebook, or they're gonna be texting me or whatever, and go, I haven't seen you. Where have you been? You're going to have that extra accountability. Additionally, you're going to have a community to lean on for support when you're struggling. We've got some members in my gym community right now who have gone through surgery. Actually, we have several members who have gone through surgery over the last month, and they're struggling. They're like, hey, I can't make it to the gym, but I got to make sure my nutrition is still good. What are some tips and tricks, and what are you guys eating this week? And it creates it helps build your environment with those who are more aligned with the same type of goals that you have. And that's what's important. That's the final step into the support and accountability, is that community and surrounding yourself with those who are aligned with the kind of goals that you have that you're trying to achieve. Hugely important. I could go on for hours. Actually, I'll have to do another episode. I do a huge talk with regards to surrounding yourself with the right setting good boundaries, and surrounding yourself with those who can help build you up and are in alignment with what you're trying to do. So those are the steps.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I love how not only did you just rattle through the steps, you gave examples, and they were real, and there's humor embedded in them, and they're very relatable, right? Like we all, maybe not that exact jumping jack, but we've all been, for me, it was walking into the salsa dance studio for the first time and like having a panic attack in my car. Like, I can't do this. Like we all have whatever that is in our journey, that thing that we had to push past. And so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights and tips. So 2 questions. Okay, I'm going to go with this one first because it makes sense in our flow. How can all these amazing people who have just heard everything you had to share get in touch with you?
Yes. So honestly, Facebook is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can feel free to message me on Facebook or follow me. I'm Jen Ingram on Facebook. Or you can email me, changecoachjen@gmail.com is my email. And I would say those are the 2 easiest ways. But I definitely, if you're struggling, or you're seeking out some clarity, that you need to make a change in your life, definitely message me. We can set up a coffee chat. It is absolutely free. And that would give you an opportunity for us to kind of sit down and go through and have that coffee chat and get to that clarity for you, so that you can figure out if you're ready to take some steps to take your life back.
Love that. So I put both of those links in the live chat here for those of you with us live. Everyone else, wherever you're watching, it will be in the show notes, replay notes, whatever it's called, wherever you're watching or listening. So I love to ask all my guests, and you've hit on some of this, but what are your daily non-negotiables?
Yeah, daily non-negotiables, definitely gym time. And I guess it's not daily. I do actually set a boundary for myself that 2 days a week I do not go to the gym, and it is very intentional. Because I did, there was a period of time where I was trying to go to the gym every day of the week, and you just burn yourself out. Um, the other one is definitely with my nutrition. I'm prep. I prep everything. Um, so that's another big one for me. And I've gotten out of the habit of journaling daily. I now journal weekly. But I have some of those habits that definitely they're non-negotiables for me. And I think that my journal time is definitely one of those. I was never a journaler before this, but I really getting your thoughts out onto paper and really trying to get into creating some feelings and some visualization around what you're trying to do, and some of the thoughts that you're having is really powerful and it's really impactful. And that has definitely become that's a big one. And I just remembered one that I totally forgot about. I listened to a sleep manifestation, um, oh, I don't know what to call it, like a podcast, I guess, but it's not a podcast. It's I don't know what to call it. Chantal, it just occurred to me. I'll have to figure out what it is, but it's like a sleep, it's like a meditation. It's more like a meditation, but this is an abundance manifestation meditation, and I listen to it every night faithfully. And I try to go to bed at the same time every night. So that's a big routine for me.
Awesome. And I will look and verify. I know you've sent it to me and I've listened to it a couple times, and verify that that's the same one that you're still listening to. And then we can share that link as well in the show notes. And um, mostly ladies, but if there happens to be a gentleman listening, ladies and gentlemen, like Jen is legit. Like, so we went to Minneapolis together. We did a road trip with another friend, and the friend and I are like, we're hungry. Let's hit a gas station. And Jen's like got this giant cooler with her, and she's like slicing an apple in the back seat. And we're like, what is going on? You did prep and you planned, and I'm not a morning person. I'm working on it. But you, whether we are in Minneapolis, on a float trip in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, or Vegas was our most recent adventure, Jen gets up at the crack of dawn and does her morning routine. Like, it is, she's serious. So she's not just talking the talk, saying these are things you should do. These are things she's actually practicing that have actually helped her on her journey. And so she would love to help you as well. So definitely contact her. What's the harm of having a free coffee chat with a coach? Like, most coaches offer some type of free entry call, like mine's are called clarity calls, coffee chat, whatever people call it. You can get clarity and your next action step for free. Like, even if you know, like, I'm not ready for coaching yet, um, just take advantage when you are connecting with somebody, when you're like, I'm loving what I'm picking up, what you're putting down, and I like your vibe and I like your energy. And, take advantage of those free times, because it helps us to learn what are the needs of people out there. Like, what are the questions you're asking? What are the words you're using? Because then that helps us mold our programs and tailor how we are serving our current clients, even if you do not become one. So it's really a win-win. It's very valuable use of time for both ends. So definitely take advantage of that. And okay, so let me scroll over to the chat here. Carla is or was on live with us. Hello. She says, thanks for the info. So good. And I saw lots of hearts going up from Missy throughout your chat. So I know she was here live with us. Thank you so much. And everyone else, it just shows me a number of how many people are live. I don't know exactly who is live if you do not interact, and that is okay. Just don't feel sad if I didn't holler out your name in person, because I didn't know. Oh, see, Missy's going crazy with her hearts and thumbs up again. Thanks, girl. um,
Thank you.
Yes. Any final thoughts? We're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, no, you know what? I love what you said that, even if it's just a coffee chat, that it helps. It doesn't, it helps you, it helps us. When I first got into this, so much of what I wanted, the reason I wanted to share was I just kept thinking to myself, if I can help someone else see, my goal would be that I could help everybody see that they don't have to just live life on autopilot and they don't have to wake up feeling miserable every day. And they don't have to be in toxic relationships and toxic to themselves. Like, if I can help them just figure out how to take their life back, right? Like, that's all that I want. And so, yeah, just even engaging in this very community helps us so that we can continue to help others. So, yeah, no, thank you for having me. Absolute pleasure, as always. And I look forward to our, who knows what 2022 holds. We went and did so many things in 2021. So really, we both sought out in 2021 to travel as part of creating lives that we love. And I think we nailed it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you also went to Florida, and my Myrtle Beach trip got postponed thanks to COVID, but it'll happen in May. But yes, so whatever you guys desire, dream big, dream often, and then follow the steps that Jen laid out and make it happen. So thank you again so much, Jen. And thank you everyone who joined us live or on the replay. Just one ask, if you got any value out of this episode, please share it with someone that you think would also benefit from it. And leaving a podcast review is also so very much appreciated. And so you can quickly and easily leave a review from any device by going to ratethispodcast.com/Khalil, that's CALYL, for Create a Life You Love. And that'll be linked in the notes. And if you find yourself on the transformation journey, definitely be sure to check out the newly released free transformation action plan. All you do is answer a couple simple questions, and then you receive detailed personalized results with the top 3 things that you can implement to build momentum on your journey today. And next week, we will be chatting with Paige Pinnick. Paige is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified personal trainer who will be sharing how you can reframe your thinking on food in order to simplify and increase your success with your health. And you will be able to find us live in the Create a Life You Love community or catch it on your favorite podcasting platform. So same time, same place next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.